could this be the last time Nebraska and Colorado ever play? There was some discussion about maybe, getting another series on the calendar. That's not happened at this point. With the unknowns in college football, this might be the end of what's been a 40-plus year rivalry that really began in about 1986.
Right. I hope it's not. I don't think it would. I'd be really, God, I hate to say the word sad, but I'd be saddened if this were the. Come on, we just established, Sean, what a hot rivalry it is. That emotion is what largely defines college football. There's, in fact, I would say if you're the powers that be at the respective schools, you make sure that this series continues. It would be a. I think it would be sort of. Well, I'm just gonna say disappointing. I'll just say disappointing if it goes away. And you can make it happen. Now, I know a lot of people this week have said, "Sip, come on." They schedule 15 years out. Schedules change. They change. I mean, they move in. And they move teams in and out. So it could happen. I hope to God it happens.
Well,
Sean, how would you feel about it?
Just from a Colorado perspective, those games in that stadium have been as entertaining. And I mean, for Nebraska losing, but to see the traveling of the fans, because you got to remember the whole western part of Nebraska, that's a home game for them.
Right. Sean, this is the only real rival Nebraska has. Who's the other real rival?
Iowa.
Contrived.
I
try to make it a rivalry. I do it. I play that game. But you got to kind of play a game to do it.
There was a point where it felt like there was some friction building between like Shenander and the Ferences and Frost. Like you could sense they didn't like each other.
Yeah.
But
it's over.
It never really got off the ground.
No, well, not really. That part didn't. I'm not saying that. I mean, Nebraska, Iowa is, I'd say, a budding rivalry. The issue is that Iowa has other rivals. They have other people like Minnesota that they care way more about being.
And I feel like Wisconsin,
and Iowa State
Nebraska really wanted Wisconsin to be a rivalry, but they've won every one of the meetings but one, and they couldn't even get that game protected.
They couldn't get it protected. You were there for the games recently, and there's at least one where there's not many people in the stand. I mean,
we've been out there twice.
There were a lot of empty seats.
Deer hunting season.
Yeah.
It's a 7-day rifle deer hunt season there.
Yeah.
Wow. And we happened to be there on opening that weekend of it the last 2 times. And I mean, it's a huge deal in Wisconsin.
Yeah. But I guarantee if they were playing Minnesota that day, it'd be packed.
You figure out a way to make it work.
Right. And Iowa's got other teams like Iowa State this weekend, for instance, that they worry about more.
Iowa's got 3 of them. They have Minnesota, they have Wisconsin, they have Iowa State, and they have Nebraska.
Yeah.
So they get 4 good rivalry games.
Nebraska might be the 4th on that list, Sean.
Yeah, Kansas State never really got off the ground.
Close, though.
It was close.
It was getting there.
KU never got off the ground, obviously. It would be different now, though.
Can't you play Colorado on a semi-regular basis going forward? Troy Dannon.
4 times every 10 years,
something like that.
That's
a little more than that.
Well, right now they did a 4-game series from 2018 to 2024.
Okay,
so they essentially did 4 games over 6.
Right,
and then they had Oklahoma, and that was Osborne, Tom Osborne, and Bill Moose, and they worked to get those games in. Like Bill Moose wanted to the historical games that meant something for the non-conference.
I'm just here to state the obvious. Okay. I'm here to state zoom out. How good does this feel this week talking about this game? Now there's a lot of angles. So there's a lot of interesting angles, but one of them is just how hot the rivalry is.
Well, and the fact that Nebraska's blown it out there twice.
Yeah.
And they blew it in Lincoln. I mean, 3 straight losses. J.D. Spielman dropped a ball that would have won the game and iced it, and they could have kneeled it out. And then Colorado ended up winning the game.
Yeah, you pointed out in your column today that since the rivalry was renewed, 4-game rivalry, basically 4 games in this segment of it, Nebraska's lost all 3. That's partly what makes this game so big. As you pointed out, last word. They can get the last word, maybe not the last word forever, but the last word for a while.
And I'm not even going to get into it if the Nebraska students are going to get a word on if Nebraska wins this, because boy, that field storming debate we talked about
did get hot.
Yeah, a lot. I mean,
there's a lot of strong opinions about
very
that.
strong. And look, I just brought it up. Like, could we see that happen?
You're an advocate of it.
Well, it'd be fun.
I am an advocate of it.
I mean, I just think of the young kids at Nebraska. They have not, like, everyone's like, we're above that. Well, none of these kids here know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know that Nebraska's above it at this point.
But there are a segment of the older fans, but they're not the students.
Right.
They're the kids will do what they want to do.
I think that it just, to me, it falls in the category of college football is a lot of it's just about emotion. And that sort of emotion is very beautiful. It wouldn't bother me at all to see 5,000 people on the field Saturday night in red and white celebrating a victory. It wouldn't bother. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Think about these bookends. In 2001, Colorado beat Nebraska 62-36. And in terms of mile markers, that was the turn of Nebraska football.
100.
They've only been ranked in the top 5 for 1 week after the Rose Bowl. 1 week in 24 years. 1 week. 1 week.
Gotcha.
1 week.
Yeah.
And
what's the other bookend?
This could be the bookend, right?
Yeah,
now.
this could be the
Like,
bookend.
you know, in some ways, like, all right, you've beaten Colorado finally. You got Dylan Raiola. The program's heading in the right direction. This is the start of something special.
That's what you'd wonder. I mean, that's
what you hope. That's the optimistic hope. How it's going to, regardless what happens, it's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a really fun night.
Yeah, really interesting for sure. And I really like Nebraska's chances. I really like them, because if what we know about football is correct, which is if you have the dominant lines, then you should win. And Nebraska does. I mean, if Colorado can, I mean, I will say this about Deion Sanders. If he can manage his way to a victory under those circumstances, that's pretty good coaching. If you can manage your way to a victory against a team where you're operating at a pretty significant disadvantage up front on both sides, that's tough to manage. It's tough to manage.
It's going to be loud.
Oh, it's going to be intensely loud. It'll be breathtaking. It'll be breathtaking.
And if Nebraska wins this, our post-game show that we're going to do after the game, airtime between 11:30 and 12, depending on how the night flows. It's going to be a epic post-game show.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might have people outside the post office here where we do the show from, like, wanting just to get a glimpse of the post-game show.
I don't know if that would be.
Or they might just be partying in the rail yard still, but